Good day, Hudson Valley. I'm your host, Lisa Caslin, and welcome to our show. Today we're covering an unsettling topic that's been brewing in our communities since the early part of October, and it involves an estimated $5 million in missing funds from the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department. Our guest today is David McKay Wilson. He's the Tax Watch columnist from the Journal News, and he actually broke the story. So he's here with us today to talk a little bit more about this unfolding. Welcome, David.
Well, thank you.
So tell me, how did this discrepancy come to fore?
Well, what happened was that there was a member of the fire department board, Tom Carey, who's a former comptroller of the town of Carmel, and he noticed some irregularities in the bookkeeping, and they checked it further, and lo and behold, they discovered there was a whole trail of irregularities. Going back many years. We still don't know all the details about how it all happened and how that money was able to be, they say that it was either embezzled or misappropriated. But it's been said that it's up to $5 million that is lost, and we're now 2-3 months into the investigation, and it's still ongoing. The biggest news this week was the news that the U.S. Attorney Preet Baraha has taken over the investigation.
Wow.
So
it's growing in seriousness every day.
It is, and the town board in the town of Carmel, they've begun to take some action. They cut the fire department's budget this year by 32%, $550,000. Which was kind of the capital expenditures for the department, and they believe that they needed to take some action this year to show the taxpayers in Carmel that, if this much money allegedly has gone, that maybe they don't need it for this year.
So dial it back for one moment. There was a gentleman who was a longtime treasurer, right? His name was Mike Klein.
Yes, Michael Klein, and he's been a member of the department since the late '90s. And he resigned when the investigation was heating up. He's no longer the treasurer. Mr. Klein also owns a shop in Putnam Valley, Bucks Hollow Emergency Equipment. He's a gun dealer, federal gun dealer, who then sells to the fire departments and the police departments. Now, all the municipalities have ended their relationships with him, but it was interesting in my story that came out today, I was able to show how the Putnam County Sheriff, that had turned out to be the biggest municipal purchaser from him between 2012 and 2015, did about $300,000 worth of business with him.
So the spotlight is on this gentleman now for obvious reasons, and I'm sure that we'll be hearing a lot more from him and his attorneys. A question about the cuts that Supervisor Schmidt is now preparing to undertake. It's, I guess, a half a million dollars, right? So how does that impact the safety, if at all, of our citizens? I mean, are these cuts going to affect, products or some sorts of services or machinery that's required to save lives?
No, well, what they're saying is that, so the department gets $1.75 million on their contract, their fire protection contract, of which about $550,000 was set aside for capital expenditures, buying new trucks. So the $550,000 was what was targeted to be set aside to buy new equipment. It's unclear whether they wanted to replace a tanker this year. Well, the tanker is still working. It's still working. It's on a schedule, a replacement schedule. Maybe they won't replace it this year, but it's whether this is going to affect anything in their operation. For one, now if they withheld this money for 5 years in a row, then you're starting to maybe get into a serious area. But the interesting thing that came out of the town board meeting that I was at this past week because when they went to cut the budget, they had a public hearing. And the town supervisor alerted the fire department about this. And the fire department would not testify in public about fire expenditures. They believe that all those discussions should be held in private. And that what the community spends in tax money on fire protection isn't a subject for public discussion, which was really an interesting, but that's the setup that the town of Carmel has, because the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department is in what's called a fire protection district. The voters don't elect the commissioners of this department as they do in the Carmel department or some other departments around the area. They're just appointed by the members within the department. And 3 out of the 5 commissioners, we learned this week, don't even live in the Mahopac Fire District.
Oh, goodness.
So it's this has become very concerning to people, taxpayers who live in the district, who wonder, you know, if the people who are in charge of all the money, maybe they don't take quite as
A vested interest in
because it's not their money that's going to pay for what's going on there.
Exactly.
They live in a different district, or they live. One guy lives in Kent. 2 of the other guys live elsewhere in Mahopac, in the Mahopac Falls district, up on Barrett Hill, and they're in a different district.
Yeah.
But they're running the show for the people, for the taxpayers in the Mahopac district.
So, how do we protect our citizens against fraudulent, goings-on such as this? There has to be some oversight that could potentially protect us at least a little bit better than we've seen here. No?
Yes. Well, in other districts, in the fire district like Carmel, then the people who are on the board are actually elected. So there is some accountability in the sense you can vote these people out, or you can get other people in the community in on the board to decide how the money is spent. I think that the department itself also, and they acknowledged this, that they said they trusted the treasurer. They trusted the treasurer too much. And so they say that they've instituted more safeguards, whether who knows what he was writing checks to, but there weren't enough safeguards in their procedures if this went on as long as they say it went on, 10 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long time for it to happen. The other thing is that the department has an accountant who also did their tax reports, and he had been together with the department as long as this guy had been the treasurer. So there's some question as to whether the accountant really lived up to his responsibility as someone helping oversee the finances and producing the financial statements. So it's, but I think some of these problems can happen when you have a privatized service like this is in town here. So it's not public. So. And all the discussions are going on in private, and I think the taxpayers in Carmel are they're starting to a few people are starting to wake up to this.
So what do you think? What do you think is going to be sort of the resolution here before we end? What do you see as at least the next step?
Well, the investigation has to run its course. No one's been charged with any crime at this point, so that has to occur. How and the town, they're drawing up their new contract with the fire district, which they say will include more safeguards in it about the spending of the money. And then there's this other question as to whether they may decide to reconstitute the district to make it public instead of private. But that seems more of a long-term strategy.
Okay. Well, listen, we're going to keep track of this story. To find out more and to track Dave's coverage of this, check out loha.com, and we hope to maybe have you back again if things unfold further.
Super.
Thank
Love
you so
that.
much.
Thanks.
Great.